FGM. Welcome to Overpriced JPEGs. I'm Carly Riley. Very excited to be back again for another recap episode, looking at what's been happening over the last week or sometimes last couple weeks in crypto, in NFTs. What are we all talking about? What are we all thinking about? What are we not thinking about, but maybe we should be? I don't know. Here we go. We're going to dive right in. So obviously, January was a huge month for NFTs. OpenSea did, I think it was like $4.5 billion, over $4.5 billion in volume, which is just crazy. And the question that we've posed on this show and that I think is being posed in a lot of places is, does this mean that NFTs are finally decoupled from crypto? Does the price of crypto have less of an impact or no impact now on what happens in the NFT market? Crypto obviously took a huge tumble and has been holding steady now, but after a big dip, and NFTs didn't really seem to be affected at all. I think the reality is, the truth is somewhere in the middle, as people say. I don't think we're fully decoupled. These markets will always be intertwined, but it does feel like we've broken out in a way where what is happening in the NFT market, what is affecting the NFT market, it is more powerful than whatever crypto alone is doing. So I don't think that this is something where NFTs are simply lagging crypto and a huge dip is coming. A dip likely will come in the next couple of months because things are just out of control right now in terms of the way prices are pumping. But I don't think that's because crypto dipped, and so now we're going to have a lagging dip in NFTs. The reason I think we'd have a dip in NFTs is, again, prices are getting really high, things are getting really bubbly. There's clearly a lot of I would say irrational exuberance in the market, which is usually a sign that things are going to settle down. I think tax time could be a rude awakening for folks and lead some people to realize they need to cash out of their NFTs in order to cover some of their tax bills, which of course in and of itself will create a new tax bill for next year. But I think you will see some fear happening when people really are aware of what their tax implications or tax situation might be who have been trading crypto and NFTs. But there are plenty of reasons to be bullish too, and I want to talk about those. First and foremost, the international markets seem to be hopping heavy on the NFT train and the crypto train writ large. So I want to highlight a couple things. The term NFT searches, Google searches for the term NFT past Google searches for the term crypto, I think for the first time ever. And that was all because of searches coming out of Asia. So this is something that 999 tweeted. Maybe we can get that tweet up on the screen here. I am, believe it or not, trying to get to a point someday where I'm just like screen sharing while I talk, y'all. I know that's probably a more pleasant experience for those of you who watch on YouTube rather than who listen on the podcast. We'll get there. We're still a new show. We have so many places to grow. So 999, who started OpenDAO and who was sort of famous recently for calling out Pudgy Penguins and publicizing the fact that Pudgy Penguins founders were essentially making off with all of the money and that the Pudgy Penguins project was effectively broke. Really honorable influencer, it seems, in the space. He tweeted this image of the search histories for NFTs and for crypto. You can see that search history for NFTs is now above crypto. And really it was Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, and Turkey and Russia as well. But most pronounced in Taiwan, Japan, and South Korea, where you were seeing just an explosion of people looking up what NFTs are. Now, there's a lot being made, and I've even speculated about this. Like, is this what's causing certain projects to pump? You've got things like Azuki's doing really well. Zipsies is a project this past week that really started to pump, though I think that came after Pranksy bought some Zipsies or like swept the floor of Zipsies. Both of those appealing to an Asian audience, presumably, because Azuki certainly is anime style. Zipsies as well is sort of very Asian influenced, and I think Zipsies is intentionally trying to appeal to Asia. It's the CTO or a former Coinbase guy is the CTO for that project. So there's speculation about what projects are pumping and why, and is it because Asia's entering the market? Again, I've partaken in this speculation. I'm sure there's some truth to that. I also think we shouldn't, if you're trying to day trade, I wouldn't, and you don't know the Asian market well, I wouldn't overly optimize trying to predict what Asia is going to like. It's probably a losing strategy in the end. It makes me think of Poopy talking about when he was running the when he was running product for CryptoKitties, one of the failures he mentioned, I did an interview with him recently. If you have not heard that, go check it out, by the way. But Poobie mentioned that when he was running product for CryptoKitties, they had a lot of expectations on what was going to happen when CryptoKitties entered the Asian market. They had partnered with, I think, some apps in Asia, and he cited it as one of their bigger failures because nothing happened. and I think it's really hard if you're not intimately familiar with the culture and living it every day. It's very hard to predict other cultures, and probably kind of arrogant to think that we can do so. So again, I've speculated as to projects are pumping because Asia's entering the market, but at the end of the day, I really don't know what I'm talking about and on that front. So, but it is interesting, and it's clearly a growing market, which is super exciting. India, it just legalized crypto assets, or announced that they would be legalizing crypto assets. This is something Balaji was tweeting about and sharing links out about. I guess there was some big meeting. The finance minister of India made this announcement saying they're going to be legalizing crypto assets. I did not watch the video or read the transcript because it was just way too intellectual for me, and I didn't make it happen. But that's exciting news. And then Thailand, also out of Thailand, there was news, which is that they are scrapping the 15% crypto tax that they had initially announced they were going to implement. So this is, to read this, Thailand has scrapped plans to impose a 15% withholding tax on crypto transactions after facing pushback from traders in one of Southeast Asia's biggest markets for digital currencies. So win after win in the international markets for crypto, for NFTs. I'm sure that has some effect on the pumping we've seen happen lately, and is likely to continue. So again, that's a bullish indicator for the market as a whole. Getting into some specific projects and some things I'm looking at right now, I think because projects are pumping so much, I'm hesitant to buy NFTs in bull markets. Zeneca33 and I were talking about this, I think, last week, which is, it's like the paradox of, I don't want to buy in bull markets because I know that can be a stupid time to buy because eventually there'll be a crash again. You really need to buy when the market is down and there's a crash, but it feels so painful to buy when everything is dropping in prices. And so it's really hard to get yourself to buy in a bear market, but I also feel nervous to buy in a bull market. So I've been trying to look at some things that I'm bullish on, but that aren't pumping right now for one reason or another. And one area that comes to mind are decentralized metaverse tokens. So Decentraland and the Sandbox, both obviously super hyped and got a lot of attention at the end of last year following the Meta announcement. Both their coins pumped quite a bit in the months following Facebook's Meta announcement, and there was a lot of attention on the metaverse in general. Obviously, corporations, everyone suddenly was becoming aware of the term metaverse. That has died down a bit. Obviously, metaverse is still a big topic and exciting to people, but it's not the way it was. It's not as frothy as it was right after all these big announcements were made. And as we focus so much on NFTs right now and what's happening to the crypto market, I think some of those metaverse platforms are getting less attention, which to me signals it might be a good moment to look at investments in that space. So looking at buying Sand, looking at buying Mana, both coins sitting around the $2 to $4 range right now. And, they haven't tanked in price by any means. I think back when I was looking at it, it was like $5, $6. And I didn't buy then. So I think I might buy now. I think that is exciting. Rug Radio is a project I mentioned on the show a couple weeks ago. I want to talk more about it again here. I do think this is a really exciting project. I'm kind of debating buying more Rug Radio tokens because there's a big drop happening on February 9th. We will talk about that. I want to dive into a tweet thread in particular that gave an analysis of Rug Radio as to why they're super bullish on the project. But before I do that, I want to leave room for us to hear from the wonderful sponsors of this show, the groups and people who make this show possible. I'm so grateful to you. Let's hear a word from them.
Axie Infinity is a game universe filled with cute, fascinating little creatures called Axies that players can collect as pets. Players aim to battle, breed, collect, raise, and build kingdoms for their Axies. There are and will be many varied gaming experiences for Axies, many of them having players compete with each other using complex strategies and tactics to attain top rankings or be rewarded with coveted resources. Others will have them complete quests, defeat bosses, and unlock in-depth storylines. There are countless unique Axies that players can collect with varying body parts and experiences. The AXIE universe is a player-owned economy where the players can truly own, buy, sell, and trade the resources they earn in the game through skilled gameplay and contributions to the ecosystem. It's a digital nation where people come together globally with their AXIEs to play, earn, and live. Join the AXIE revolution at axieinfinity.com/bankless. Polygon is Ethereum's largest and most vibrant scaling solution to date. With millions of monthly users and all of the biggest DeFi apps, the Polygon ecosystem has turned into a blossoming metropolis of DeFi activity. Transactions on Polygon are quick and cheap, allowing users the freedom to achieve their DeFi goals, all while being economically anchored to Ethereum. But Polygon isn't just the proof-of-stake sidechain. The Polygon team is building a suite of scaling solutions, including Polygon Hermes, Maiden, Nightfall, and Zero, all with different design choices in order to be optimized for all possible crypto use cases. If you're a developer who wants to build on the Polygon ecosystem, go to the link in the show notes to check out their fantastic documentation. And if you're a user who just wants to experience fast and cheap DeFi, you can bridge over your ETH or other tokens and start playing around with any of the thousands of applications that are available on Polygon.
All right, we are back. I'm going to dive into Rug Radio a little bit more here. I'm also going to dive into the project Creepz, which has just been killing it lately, and it feels like it's time to highlight and talk a little bit about what they're up to. Rug Radio, as a reminder, I do own a couple Rug tokens. I think I bought them after I talked about this project on the pod, though. So y'all had ample opportunity to buy in if you thought the project was interesting after hearing it on the pod. I bought in at like 0.3, and then I bought in again at 0.5, and they peaked at, I think, like 1.8 ETH the other day. I think they're now down around an ETH or so. Still, pretty good return for a couple weeks' work. And by work, I mean doing literally nothing after buying them. So OSF, I don't actually know their background. Let me grab this. OSF NFT is the Twitter handle here. And they seem to be just a general kind of crypto and NFT investor. Oh, they're the co-founder of Canary NFT. Good follower base here. General player in the space. Come for me if you know more about who this account is, and I'm not giving them enough credit. But anyway, they posted this long, what they called a mega thread about Rug Radio. They had done something similar, I guess, for Bored Apes last November. They did like a mega thread on Bored Apes and why they were really, really bullish on Bored Apes as a project. And they did one on Rug Radio, and I thought it was interesting. A couple things to highlight. They said, one, that they felt like Rug Radio was likely undervalued because it's a confusing project, which is definitely true. I talked about it and kind of broke down the project a couple weeks ago on the podcast. And even at the time, I was like, oh my God, is this just kind of too complicated a process to try and explain on a podcast without visuals? Like, am I talking for too long? Are people confused? Because it's quite involved. There are multiple levels to the tokens here, and it's about building a decentralized media company, and it's an ambitious project. And so I do think it's quite possible that because of everything that's going on, many, many people have not really dug deep into what this project is and what they're trying to build, or are just confused by all the different layers to it and the components to it, and so haven't gotten in. So that was sort of argument number one, was this is a fairly confusing, or I guess I should say complicated project. It's not an indictment of the project. It's not the project's fault. I think Farouk has done a really interesting job structuring this thing, but it is complicated, and that inherently makes it confusing. So that's their first point, is like, look, the odds that this is undervalued because people haven't really understood the project yet are high. But the more interesting part of this to me was some numerical work that they got into in this thread. Basically what's going on here is OSF is making a couple assumptions. One big assumption, which is that he's saying, okay, I think this Rug Radio platform, if this is a successful Web3 media company, it'll be valued, it'll have a market cap of $1 billion in 5 years. And he basically works backwards from there and says, okay, if there's a market cap of $1 billion, here's what the price of each Rug token will be based on what we know the total supply of Rug tokens will be. And if each Rug token is worth this is then what each individual Rug yielding NFT should be worth. Remember, Rug is a utility token that gets yielded off of these NFTs, or that you can claim your Rug using your Rug Radio Genesis NFT. again, complicated, involved system, but that's fundamentally what OSF is doing here. You can read the details. We'll link to the tweet thread, and maybe we'll throw up the little chart here. But he's working backwards. He's saying a successful Web3 media company will be worth $1 billion. This one in particular, this one will be worth $1 billion in 5 years. And if you work backwards, that means that these tokens are undervalued. So I want to give my thoughts on this because I actually agree. I do think Rug Radio tokens are undervalued. I think they do have a lot of room to grow. This particular analysis, do I think this is 100% right? I don't know. And of course, I'm sure OSF doesn't know either, and they wouldn't claim that they're perfectly spot on. But I want to poke at it a little bit. So first, I want to say I think Farouk, who is the founder of this, I think Farouk is very talented. So I do think that if anyone's going to build the Web3 decentralized reigning media company, it probably is Farouk. So bullish on him and clearly bullish on the project. I have no idea how to think about market cap or valuation here. And I do happen to have a weird bit of background in how Web2 media companies get valued. This is a little bit separate from market cap, but if you're an investor or when VCs are looking to fund media properties, the way this works is media companies tend to be valued at about 10x revenue. So to put this in context, if you are a media company, if you have a million subscribers who are each paying you $10 a month, right? So each person's paying you $100, $120 over the course of a year. You've got a million people doing that. You've got 100 million or so in revenue. You will be $1 billion media company. Roughly speaking, that's how those valuations work. Obviously, there's changes to this. There was an interesting case recently where The Athletic, which is a media property, was bought out for $500 million. And they, I think, follow that generally. They have like 1 million subscribers who pay a certain amount. I don't know. That was like a lowball surprising acquisition. 500 million felt like kind of a steal for The Athletic, but they're apparently on the decline. Who knows, whatever. Roughly speaking, this is generally how media companies in the Web2 world get valued. It's really hard to know how that translates into like market caps and valuation, obviously being slightly different things in the Web3 world, which is, of course, what's exciting. I'm very interested in media and media companies and how our media functions. I think it's very broken. I have questions around how much of the brokenness is just fundamental to humans and like humans are broken. And so it's inevitable that our media will be broken. I don't think a decentralized media platform entirely fixes that by any means. And I might make a note on that as well. But I do think it's really interesting. I am excited about having new models for creating media. So anyhow, I don't know where this $1 billion number is coming from, this $1 billion valuation number. I would love to see OSF give a little bit more analysis as to how they get there in terms of that $1 billion. I think they make comparisons to like Facebook, which is like a $250 billion company, but that doesn't really feel like a fair comparison either. And I understand that Rug Radio is trying to be, it's not like necessarily just traditional media. It is like broader social media content creation. Like it's a platform for that kind of work as well. So a comparison to something like a Facebook, who is really like a publishing tool for content, I understand. Anyhow, no idea how to really evaluate this $1 billion number, but I'll go with it. I think that fundamentally I'll go with the premise that these tokens are undervalued on the basis that the market cap is derived from the dollar value of each individual Rug token in supply, and the Rug tokens will be worth something. And if you're holding one of these NFTs that is yielding Rug, your NFT will be worth more than whatever it currently is valued at, because these Rug utility tokens will be worth more. So again, very bullish on Rug Radio, to be honest. We'll see how it plays out. And it's worth checking out OSF's thread. I think it's interesting. I appreciate them putting it together and putting their thoughts out there. Anyhow, I like these, call it more quantitative analyses. The big presupposition here is that they will build a successful decentralized Web3 media company. And that's the nittier, grittier stuff that I'm hoping to learn more about and dig more into over the next many months, is to understand how they're thinking about doing this. Farouk made an announcement, I believe yesterday, saying that they had given out the first set of host passes. So they've selected the first group of people that are going to be their content creators through this platform. So I think it'll be really interesting when those names are announced to see who they are, start to dig into, are they talented? Can they sustain a media company? So lots to look at there. I'm highlighting this because I actually really do think it's an interesting project that does have a lot of potential. Always, of course, not financial advice, but I do encourage you to look more into it and determine if you're as excited about it as I am. I'm like debating buying another one at 1 ETH. And that's because on February 9th, anybody who, that's like when the first rug utility tokens will be, I think, airdropped to holders, and initial holders, anybody who's holding them prior to February 9th or prior to the snapshot, I don't know when that's exactly getting taken, will get like initial reward amounts. So like if you hold the lowest yielding token, the standard token, you get 555 rug tokens just out the gate. Off the bat. And so you might want to be holding some in advance of that February 9th date. That being said, the price will almost certainly drop after February 9th because people who held before will, of course, have the benefit of getting that reward drop of like all these rug tokens.
Everyone is talking about the metaverse these days, and we're all still trying to figure out what it actually is, because everyone is looking for how to get exposure to it. That is why a metaverse index fund is so important, because in such a young market, an index can give you broad exposure to all the various players who are building out all these digital worlds that will ultimately become the metaverse. And that's why you should check out the Metaverse Index from the Index Co-op. The Metaverse Index gives you simple, easy, and safe one-click exposure to the emerging open metaverse trend. The MVI Index contains some of the biggest metaverse projects out there, including AXIE Infinity, Decentraland, Illuvium, and more. So join thousands of holders who have already trusted nearly $50 million to the MVI Index. And if you buy $500 of MVI on the Dharma app, you can receive $50 worth of ETH on the Polygon network. There's a link in the show notes for you to click so you can get started on your journey into the metaverse. Unstoppable Domains is the #1 provider of NFT domains. With domains ending in .crypto, .x, or .nft, Unstoppable Domains lets you replace your long, complex wallet address with a human-readable address. Using Unstoppable, you can verify the ownership over your NFTs, log into Web3 apps, and join tens of thousands of people using them as their Twitter usernames. With Unstoppable Domains, you can have all of your crypto addresses registered to one single domain. So it doesn't matter where crypto payments are coming from or where they're going. By registering all of your crypto addresses to your Unstoppable domain, all of that is taken care of in the back end. Better yet, with Unstoppable Domains, you don't have to worry about gas costs or renewal fees because you own it. Buy your domain and you can show it off as your new Twitter username. So you can get your name for as low as $5 at unstoppabledomains.com.
Okay, other project we're talking about today, a project I do not own, so cannot be accused of shilling my own bag. Creepz. This project has been killing it. I think 2 weeks ago, the floor price on like the Genesis Creepz was like 0.8 or 0.88 or something, and now they're up to like 5 ETH, 5.4 ETH. And this project, for those who don't know, is like a PFP game project, right? It has the PFP elements, but it's gamified. I've heard people describe the art as very Rick and Morty-esque. I think that's true. This project has like a look and feel of Rick and Morty. It feels like it's appealing to a more masculine sensibility to me. Like I can say I am not drawn to this art at all, but I've watched like, bro YouTubers talk about this project and they're so hype on the art. And I'm like, oh, this is so funny. This makes sense, right? This project definitely appeals to a certain audience really profoundly, and I am not that audience. So the basic way that this works is you own these Creepz. Again, they do function as PFPs, but this is really a gaming project, and you stake your Creepz. By staking your Creepz, you earn Lumi, which is the in-game utility token that can also be withdrawn as an ERC20 token, so you can sell it on decentralized exchanges. You stake your Creepz, and then you earn this Lumi, and the other use for Lumi is to use it to buy more things and upgrade your reptilian army, upgrade your army in the Creepz universe. So you can spend Lumi within the universe to upgrade your army for an an impending game of some sort, I believe is the concept here. And this was founded by two people from the Bored Ape world, two Bored Ape holders who I think both come from technical backgrounds. The things here that I want to highlight, because that on the face of it is not entirely new, right? We've seen these stake and earn games now multiple times. Wolf Game obviously is a stake and earn game. It's a pretty basic calculation you're making there. The things that I want to highlight that I think are interesting here is that there are multiple different NFTs within the Creepz ecosystem. So you have the Genesis NFT, but you have this Reptilian Army series of NFTs, these Shapeshifter NFTs, and then you have something called the Lumi Vault. And this did strike me as innovative and interesting, which is that these Lumi Vault NFTs, the amount of Lumi that they yield is pegged to the price of the Lumi ERC20 tokens, I think on like decentralized exchanges. So I'm going to read basically how this works. So for example, if you initiated a claim for the first time, so you have your Lumi Vault token, you're initiating a claim for the Lumi that you're entitled to because you're staking your Lumi Vault token. If you initiate a claim for the first time, when the price of Lumi was 7 cents, you'll be rewarded with the baseline claim of 450 Lumi. On the next claim, if the price of Lumi had doubled to 14 cents, from 7 cents to 14 cents, which is a 100% increase on your Lumi, then you'll be rewarded with the baseline of your 450 Lumi plus 100% of 450, so another 450. So you'd get 900 Lumi. So if the price has doubled, then the amount of a Lumi that you get doubles. That's a really interesting mechanic that I personally have not seen before and is kind of a fun way to additionally speculate on the price of Lumi if owning Lumi is not itself enough speculation on the price of Lumi for you. This dynamically yielding NFT concept I thought was pretty cool. Again, the project is killing it, so clearly a lot of people are excited about this. You know, I'm always a little bit skeptical of these kinds of games that at least out the gate are a little MLME, multi-level marketing-y, you know, they're sort of reliant on new people constantly coming into the system to prop up prices, to kind of keep the whole thing alive. But the website is well done. They have some legitimate people in the space advising them, working on the project. The team seems, legitimate. And so they're looking to build a massive brand and a massive game, allegedly. And they very well might succeed. As you can tell, I'm not a holder. I'm not deep into this ecosystem, but I wanted to give the overview because it felt like it was time to talk about this project that has been doing very well and to highlight some of the things that they are doing in an interesting and, I think, novel way. Okay, folks, it's story time. And this is a story, I won't tell the whole thing because I've told it on the podcast before, but it's going to get us into the next topic I want to talk about, which is not always the sexiest topic, and that is NFT asset security. But it is an important one. So here's the story. This is a story of a gentleman named Rafael Lima who started a marketplace that we are going to call Hen, because the actual pronunciation of the marketplace is unknown, I think, to all humans. I'm kidding. There's probably somebody who knows how to pronounce it, but that person is not me. It gets abbreviated to Hen very often, so that's what I'm calling it. Hen is and was a marketplace on the Tezos chain that had a lot of activity, a lot of users, a lot of artists on there. And one day in 2021, Rafael Lima, the initiator of this project, he stepped back and kind of rugged the thing. Basically, I think the story was he got frustrated. I don't know. There was speculation that he was frustrated that other people were stealing his ideas. And I don't know. Whatever the reasons were, he totally walked out on the project. And so panic ensued because you had all these artists what the heck? My livelihood is now wrapped up in selling art on Hen, and collectors were like, I bought things on there. Is all of this just gone? And the answer was no. The answer was no, it was not all gone. And in fact, the project and the marketplace was able to be rescued pretty nearly in its entirety. And at the time I covered this story, it was interesting news, and it felt like this amazing case for decentralization because everything was stored in this decentralized way, which meant that just because the founder left, this one guy left, not all was lost. Well, I recently learned the behind the scenes of this story a little bit better, which is that yes, everything was able to be rescued for the hen marketplace, or almost everything, but it was not without tremendous effort by heroes. And those heroes were Club NFT, which is a, I guess, company, a project founded by Art Gnome. Art Gnome was one of the first collectors on Super Rare. He has a Substack that I've read before and liked. Just an awesome creator, content collector in the space. And he founded this project or company, Club NFT, in order to help protect crypto assets, which is exactly what he did when Club NFT stepped in to save the hen marketplace. We'll get into a little bit tactically how that worked and what that means for you. I'm not paid by Club NFT. This is not a shill. This is actually, I appreciate what they're doing. And they are currently running a beta for Club NFT where you can go on their website, fill out some information, and be a part of their beta test to get your crypto assets better protected. So that is why I'm highlighting it. It hopped on my radar this past week and wanted to make others aware of it if you were not already. So how did Club NFT save the hen marketplace? Well, folks may know, or you may not, that most of your crypto assets, most of your images that you love so much that are your NFTs, are not actually stored on chain at all. The vast majority of NFT images are stored in places like IPFS or AWS or any number of other servers and file storage systems. So what are these? Very quickly, AWS, Amazon Web Services. That is a centralized way for images to be stored, which puts you at risk for if the server goes down, you could lose your NFT image. That's a little scary, right? You essentially lose your NFT because the smart contract, your NFT is really just a smart contract, doesn't actually have the image within it. What it has is a pointer that says, hey, that file over there on AWS, that's the image associated with this NFT smart contract. So if the server disappears, the image disappears, oh my goodness, your NFT smart contract no longer points to anything and you have lost that. I don't know how many people are fully aware of that. It's worth really understanding that's the risk you're incurring. But most, or I don't know if that's fair to say, but I think many NFT images are actually stored on IPFS, which is a decentralized way of storing information. So there are nodes running all over the world that, validate basically the IPFS data system, much like a blockchain does. And it feels like a safer way to go. It is a safer way to go, but there are still risks that get incurred. And so this is what happened when Rafael Lima backed out of the hen project, leaving everybody freaked out. Everything about the hen website, the images, etc., all of that was stored on IPFS. And so what Club NFT swooped in to do was to pin all of that data into nodes they were essentially hosting. I don't know if people want me to go deep into what that means. I think I won't. And if you're curious, we'll put some links below into learning more about what that actually looks like. But the point being, there are ways to rescue information on IPFS and therefore preserve data and information in a scenario like the one that occurred here. And so the entire hen website and marketplace was able to be essentially repurposed as it was, and the artists were able to save their livelihoods, and the collectors felt safe, and it's a beautiful story of the power of Web3. But it's also harbinger is not the right word, but it's also a cautionary tale of we are more at risk than we maybe want to acknowledge. Go check out Club NFT. What they will do is from my understanding, is they will search your wallet, they will look at all your NFTs, and they will grab the image file and then certain other critical IPFS parameters. They'll package that together and they'll send it to you so that if something were to ever happen to your data on IPFS, in your particular file storage block, by using these particular parameters and the image you have, you will be able to re-upload to IPFS and your smart contract will still point to the right file storage moment and your NFT will be protected. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't want to dive too much deeper. Again, this is just the episode for talking about kind of complicated topics and projects. So go check it out. We'll have links below. But their beta is running now. Wanted to call it out. And thank you for the folks on Twitter who made me aware of this. Okay, last project. I want to shout out something that happened this week. The EpoHeroes drop. I'm going to talk about this. If you follow me on Twitter, you may have seen me tweeting about this. So eponyms, this is an eponyms project. Eponyms are, I'll just read directly from the Discord. Eponyms are works of art created by the community using a text-to-art generator developed by Art8 AI. So eponyms was this like first series of NFTs where folks could use text and then AI would read that text and generate an image based on it, the AI's interpretation of that text, which is really cool. And if that doesn't sound, I think it should sound cool, but if it doesn't sound cool, what you need to do is go to the EpoHeroes or the Eponym website and to the EpoHeroes site where things are still available to mint and try it for yourself. Because when you actually do it, when you actually type in words and then generate this image, it feels cool. Like it's a really cool minting experience. And personally, as somebody who is more of a words person than like a visual arts person, I like music with lyrics more than I have historically liked art. Of course, NFTs are starting to get me more into art, but in general, I'm like a words girl. It's so fun for me to have an NFT experience that's actually sort of text-based in this way. So what are EpoHeroes? EpoHeroes are now the sort of second incarnation of what this Eponyms project is doing. And they are avatars, right? You type in a set of words like woman with brown hair and blue eyes, and then the AI generates a person for you. And you can decide if you like that particular hero or you want to regenerate it. So you can play with this thing until you get an image that you like. You then name your hero. And then when you go to mint it, you pick different traits for it, like sorcerer or warrior or neomancer. I don't know. There's all these different things. You can choose if it's good or evil or neutral. And then you generate your quote unquote hero. These are called the EpoHeroes. And down the line, apparently these are going to be animated. You're going to be able to make your EpoHero talk. They're going to airdrop to anybody who has one of these, like a 3D character version, I believe, of the EpoHero. And this is all apparently in service of building out a game that you'll be able to use your hero in. So these different traits you choose, like the warrior versus the sorcerer, etc., all of those will play into this game down the line and be traits that are relevant in the game. I don't even care about any of that. I just have fun putting in words and like seeing what characters get generated. It is, I do think that they trained this AI on pictures of celebrities because feels like very often you can generate images that look kind of a lot like a celebrity, or like when it first flashes on the screen, you're like, oh, that looks like so-and-so. There's one on OpenSea right now that is named Scarlett Johansson that really does look a lot like Scarlett Johansson. So they definitely trained the AI on celebrities. I had wanted to try and get one that looked like me, but they're like all of the ones that like they're all just too hot. I was joking with my friend last night. I was like, can I put into the AI like worse cheekbones, like less prominent chin? I wanted to put in, I was like, just make uglier and so that it can look a little bit more like me, because all of these look like goddess celebrity types. Anyhow, it's a really fun experience. This is truly not financial advice. I don't know how these will resell. That is completely not what this is about for me. I do not expect to make money on these. This is truly about, I think this is super fun and I'm really enjoying the process of minting these, and the technology here is really cool. I actually realized, I think I'd heard this team, or at least heard part of an interview with this team, I think on Kevin Rose back a while ago, and they were talking about what this sort of text AI work could do in the future. They were talking about you could end up, editing videos simply through voice, right? Instead of having to learn a video editing software, you could be like, hey, cut out minute 30 seconds to 2 minute 15 seconds, right? Or, add a title here, right? You could use your words. The AI could know what you mean and go in and edit the video based on what you're telling it to do, rather than you having to manually go in and do it, which like blew my mind, because as somebody who's like a very mediocre video editor, but has done it at times, I would love to be able to just command the thing to do what I want and not have to actually like go in and do it myself or figure out how to do it. So a very exciting project. I just think it's sick. I encourage you to go check it out and to keep an eye on this, because it feels like they're pushing boundaries, and we love a good boundary pusher in this space. All right, folks, that is the show. I am hoping this was not too laborious for anybody to listen to. I hope you learned something. I appreciate you all to no end. We will be back next week with some awesome interviews and another recap. Zeneca should be on again next week, though we're trying to work out scheduling. There's a chance he's got a conflict and won't be able to make it. All right, that's it.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, head over to Bankless HQ right now to develop your crypto investing skills and learn how to free yourself from banks and gain your financial independence. We recommend joining our daily newsletter, podcast, and community as a Bankless Premium subscriber to get the most out of your Bankless experience. You'll get access to our market analysis, our alpha leaks, and exclusive content, and even the Bankless token for airdrops, raffles, and unlocks. If you're interested in crypto, the Bankless community is where you want to be. Click the link in the description to become a Bankless Premium subscriber today. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for in-depth interviews with industry leaders, Ask Me Anythings, and weekly roll-ups where we summarize the week in crypto and other fantastic content. Thanks everyone for watching and being on the journey as we build out the Bankless Nation.